Hello everyone, this is Nick Perry of Schaeffer's Investment Research, and I'm here with your chart slideshow for Wednesday, November 8th. Today I'm back with my weekly check of the broad market indices. In last week's chart slideshow, we saw that the broad market indices were still in their uptrends. We had been watching the SPX as it just sort of bounces along in its uptrend, same thing on the Dow. The comp, we discussed this resistance zone here, which is just drawn off of the recent peaks, its prior peaks from earlier this year, and talked about how that might present a mild bit of resistance. And the rut has just sort of been consolidating since breaking above that resistance zone near 740. The major themes that I was discussing, aside from the uptrend, was just the fact that we haven't seen much in the way of major pullbacks, that buyers have been willing to step in and buy weakness. But if we did happen to see a pullback, we had support at lower levels from the 50-day moving averages and from those prior resistance zones that we've been discussing. When we turn to this week's charts, we do see that we've had a bit of a pullback here. The SPX and the Dow showed small dips, still well above the 50-day and the support zones we've been talking about. As far as the comp, its pullback was very brief. Is it a quick down and a couple days of consolidation and then a quick bounce right back up? Is it pushed right back up into that resistance zone? The rut actually came fairly close to testing support. It got near this zone in the 50-day moving average, and before we saw a bit of a bounce that took it back towards its recent peaks. So from the standpoint of the uptrends, I mean, you can still see that they're mostly intact. We did see a little bit of a dip here, but it's still well above support. In fact, all the broad market indices are still above support. The early pre-open futures action today, the reaction to the elections, seemed to show some weakness. The open wasn't that weak, and at midday we've seen kind of a push back into break even. By the end of the day, who knows where we'll end up. But as far as longer term themes, the uptrends are still intact. But what I'm watching now is this sort of pullback right here in the recent rally back, the bounce back, because we're still below the peaks here. This may turn into a bit of a consolidation phase here. I mean, we're actually kind of seeing that already in the comp, and that it's been moving sideways. And when you look at the rut, you're seeing that too. That we've had some ups and downs, but when you look at the areas that are circled, we're basically in a consolidation phase on those indices. The SPX, and to a lesser extent the Dow, kind of show that same formation. That's given the strong uptrend we've seen. That's to be expected. How long it lasts there's no easy way to predict that. So basically what we're looking at now is that the SPX is just sort of consolidating right here. What we do see is the 50-day moving average is moving higher. At times you will see uptrends sort of take a pause, move sideways. The averages kind of catch up to it, and that's really basically nothing more than an indication as far as where the mean is on the. And by that I mean that we've had a uptrend, and now we've seen sort of a consolidation, sort of a resting period, and you can look at moving averages just from the standpoint that it shows, how is the price action relative to itself. And right now we're seeing, a bit of a pause that allows the uptrends to continue. From a technical standpoint, that's healthy, as long as it holds. So that's what I'll be watching here. Specifically, we'll be looking at how the SPX handles here. The recent low, let me circle that so you can see that. That low right there is one of the things I'm going to be keying off of. If we see a breakdown below that, the next logical standpoint to watch is the support in the 50-day moving average. But again, it's a question. I'm not predicting we're going to see a breakdown here, because right now we've got the uptrends are still intact. So I'm more or less keying on the fact that the comp and the rut have sort of, looks like the momentum has slowed a bit. So that's something to keep an eye on. That doesn't mean it's going to reverse, just that when it does reverse, that's what you'll tend to see. You'll tend to see a consolidation in the sideways movement before it rolls over. So that doesn't mean it has to happen. It's just an indication of something to look for. So that's what I'm going to be watching in the blog here, specifically the SPX and its recent low, as well as how the comp and the rut, deal with this consolidation, is their averages catch up. So stay tuned to the blog for further updates.